Hi everyone, it's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you, and this is Emil Amok Storytime. I mean, that's what we call this thing. I thought that Emil Amok Storytime should be on for Thanksgiving, and we should have it. We're actually recording this as live, so we're going to add in all the screw ups because we're doing it as live. Oh, Emil, you didn't spotlight the right bit. As live, it's going to be like we're live, but we're recording it on Thanksgiving Eve so that we can enjoy our Filipino Thanksgiving. And we're going to play this all throughout Thanksgiving week so you can listen to our Filipino stories. I mean, it happens to be that this is a Filipino Storytime, Emil Amok Storytime show. It features, and you see her in gallery view, Eleanor Clement Glass. It features Julian Simeon, Filipino Americans with special stories that I thought would be important to tell during this holiday period where, look, let's face it, the reason why we tell stories is that we love to look into the other person's eyes sitting across the dinner table. I know, the old drunk uncle or the old drunk aunt. We love to tell those stories about our families. Hey, this is us. Hey, not us. It's just you or just me. Am I weird? No, you're weird. This is what happens, right? We don't talk politics. We don't talk about Rittenhouse or Ahmaud Arbery, or we should, but we're not going to talk about that on Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about ourselves on Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for. A lot to be thankful for in 2021, this year, especially this Thanksgiving. And so, Emil Amok's story time. That's what we're having here now. And so I'm pleased to bring up here with me Eleanor Clement Glass here on the gallery view. Hi, Eleanor. So tell me, what do you own now? We have Julian here with us too.
Hi, Emil.
Hi, Julian. Hi, Julian. So now all of us are going to tell stories, and then I'm going to come on, and after the story, we'll talk. We'll talk a little bit about what the story was, and then we'll say goodbye. Or then one person will go off, and then we'll bring Julian back on, and it'll be just like a factory. And then I'll tell my story, and then we'll all be done in an hour. So, and we drew tinkling bamboo sticks, and Eleanor
Short
drew
story.
the. Eleanor's going first because she's got an important story. So, Eleanor, the story's called Mother's Day, Mother's Way. And so, with that, let's hear from Eleanor Clement Glass. And let me take away my view so that it's just you there.
Okay.
And there you go. Eleanor, thank you for being here. And please,
Okay.
the floor is yours.
I don't know if I'm on the screen.
Oh, you're on the screen. You
Okay.
are on speaker.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Emil. It's good to be with you all. Happy Thanksgiving. Now, my mother was a petite Filipino woman, and she was a Technicolor fashionista. She could rock a pair of red leather pants with a matching jacket, maybe for her bridge club, or a beautiful royal blue chiffon with seed pearls and silver embroidered all over it for her FAMCO gatherings. FAMCO is Filipino Americans of Marin County. She, we used to call her Lola. Lola means grandmother in Tagalog, which is the language of the Philippines. And she just loved having her brood over to her house. And that included 4 kids, 6 grandkids, and 3 great grandchildren. And she loved to feed us. Oh, that was her way of showing love. So when we get together for Thanksgiving or anything else, any excuse will do, but a big family gathering. My dad, who's African American, my mom would make collard greens and buttery cornbread and barbecued ribs. But we'd also have Filipino soul food. So we would have chicken adobo, and we would have pancit, which is like a vermicelli with little bits of meat and vegetable mixed in it. And then we'd also have lumpia, which are like rolled, crispy egg rolls with meat in it and little bits of vegetable too. Oh, I can just smell it now. Now, if it was Thanksgiving, in addition to those, we would have a turkey as well, and mashed potatoes and cranberries. So she just always had a mix of things for everybody's palate. One Mother's Day, when we all came over to her house, she started handing out her 4 kids. I'm the eldest, and then I have 2 brothers and a sister. As we all came in with our families, she handed us Post-its, colored Post-its, like lemon yellow and fluorescent lime green or deep turquoise or ruby red. And we would get 2 or 3 of these, and we were wondering what they were for. She said, well, these are for games, for the game I have for us. Well, we loved games. Any family gathering was a steady stream of jokes and relentless teasing and games, and a lot of trash talking during games. Well, we took our Post-its and we all took our places all around the living room with all the kids on the floor, waiting expectantly for Lola to explain the game. She came in and said, now you all know I do not want you to fight when I die. Oh, Lola. No, I'm serious. I want you to take the Post-it and put your name and put it on anything that you like. Well, just then, my brother Carl, not so surreptitiously, started tossing his Post-its at my brother Ray, and that started an instantaneous Post-it war. So we were all throwing Post-its around, and my sister was going, la, 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 la. We were in no uncertain terms telling her that if that was the game, we were out. We could not imagine talking about her dying. Well, she took her little slipper off and she hit my brother Carl's arm and she said, you're bastos. You're bad. And then my sister looked at her and she said, you're bastos too. And she looked like she was going to pop her on the arm too. She put her slipper back on and she just quietly started picking up all the Post-its and putting them in our hands. She said, now, you know that your father and Aunt Flo were very close when they were growing up, just like you. But then when Granny and Papa died, they both went back to Philadelphia to sell the house and do all the business. And they had words. And do you know, after that, they never spoke one word to each other again. Now, this was my mother's greatest fear, not having a close family. And she was not going to have it. So she looked at each of us and she said, I want you to write your name on a Post-it. You put it on anything that you want in the house, except if I promised it to you. Now, I know what was promised to me. It was this beautiful black lacquer and gold bar that had inlaid figures of Japanese figures and scenes. They had gotten it when they were in the Philippines. My dad was in the service, so they went on, were assigned in the Philippines and went to Hong Kong. And that's where she bought this beautiful bar that had little intricate folding cabinets and drawers. It was beautiful, and it was mine. The irony is my mother doesn't drink at all, and I rarely drink, but we love that beautiful bar. So everyone knew what was promised to each other. Then she said, if 2 people or more put their names on the same one, we'll put those in a basket and I will pick it. And that's who will get it. And you don't have to fight when I'm gone. Well, we just looked at each other and thought, is this really happening? This is not something and she just said, ready, set, go. oh, and we just jumped up and started running all over the house, writing Post-its and putting them on things, much to the cheering and of all of our families. My daughter said, Mom, put a Post-it on the Ming tree. Now, my mom made beautiful Ming trees, which were like little individual bonsai trees with gorgeous gems on them. And so I put my name on one of the 20 or so that she had. My son said, Mom, put a Post-it on that chair. I like that chair. My husband said, honey, Carl just put a poster on that Chinese picture that you like. And I would run over and put my name. And we ran around the house like this, every room. Sometimes we would put our names on things. Sometimes we put our names over someone else's. And then we would run. When we would get tired, we ran and sat down on the couch just to take a breather. And my mom would come and say, is that all you want? And we'd be up and running again. Well, after a while, she said, stop. Time to eat. And everybody came into the living room. We looked around. There were brightly colored Post-its all over her house. It looked like it had been snowing, brightly colored Post-its. Well, we went and enjoyed our feast, and we laughed and we talked together. And then, true to her word, after we ate, she took her clipboard and we went around to every item and she put whose name it was. Or she had a little basket and she pulled names. You could see she was laughing and she was so relieved that we had done this. Now, my mom, it was a number of years before she passed away. And when she would acquire something new, one of us would say, is there a Post-it on that? Or we would come and put a Post-it with someone else's name on something that was broken or ugly. Well, she finally passed at the age of 84. And the four of us sat down on the couch and we made up 3 rules for first dibs on how to distribute her things. The first rule was, if you gave it to her, you had first dibs on whether you wanted it or not. If it was promised to you, of course, that would be yours. And third, if there was a Post-it on it, and we knew now whose Post-its were on what. Now, after we finished, we went around again and we looked at everything and just said, that doesn't have a Post-it on it, that redwood table. Does anybody else want it? And very amicably, we talked about the other things that were there. We chose what we wanted. And it was important to us not to place any monetary value on anything. That a kind of equal value, that was not something that was important. Everything we had was special. And so we decided what we wanted. We let our kids put Post-its on things that hadn't been chosen. And then we decided what was going to consignment, what was going to the dump, and what was going to go to Salvation Army or Goodwill. Do you know that the money we made from consignment, we put in a little kitty, and that money was what we've been using to meet quarterly, just the 4 siblings. And we get together over a wonderful meal at a restaurant, and we reminisce, we plan future family gatherings, and we just laugh together. I know my mother would have loved that. Thank you.
That's great. I'm going to put a Post-it up on my gong.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, So, yeah, that's great, Eleanor. So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
That happened, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yes. It was really important to her that we not fight at all after she was gone.
Yeah. And are you still close with your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, we are. In fact, we usually have what we call Thanksmas. So all the families come to our house and we celebrate, we decorate and celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving together. So we'll have a big Thanksgiving dinner. Then we might do a round robin of Secret Santa presents. And then we play games. Through through COVID, we've missed a couple.
Yeah.
But this year, one of the families is coming to our house tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it, even masked and tested and boosted up.
Thanksmas, huh?
Thanksmas.
And you have family all over the country, or are they in the Bay Area primarily?
Really lucky that we're all close. Yeah, I live in Oakland. My brother Carl and his family live in San Jose, and my brother Ray and sister Donna live in Marin County. So we're able to get together. My sister and I see each other almost every month.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you put together this story, any thoughts about, well, I'm going to offend somebody, or I'm going to, I got to make sure that I kind of gloss things over a bit, or what do you think?
Well, in this particular story, it's so indelible in all of our minds. We know the Post-it story that I thought people would enjoy hearing it.
Yeah.
And I think that my mom would have liked that we're telling this story now. Even now, as I get ready, pull papers together for our own final papers, my sister, my daughter and my son say, and when are we going to do the Post-its? So we'll probably do that ritual again.
Yeah. So when you get together at the big holiday meal, I mean, there's still stuff to talk about. Does anyone say, "Oh, I really wish I got that instead," or I wish I'd given you this? And anyone?
Well, not so much, but what some people will say, they'll bring a present and have a Post-it on it, and it might be like this year. I have a present of the four of us, and I'm going to put a Post-it with everybody's name on it. So we'll do something like that, or something that's really ugly that's in the Secret Santa, and it'll have somebody's name on it. So we'll play around with it. But no, I think everybody is pretty happy with the special remembrances that we have from my mom's home.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the story. One last question, though. I say that sometimes we get together at these family gatherings, we tell stories. Do you think there's going to be, I don't know, do you think someone's going to reveal something, or stories will be shared or told tomorrow when you get together on Thanksgiving? Or what do you think?
Well, there's always, my brother Carl and I are about 19 months apart. And then there was another 12 and 14 years before Donna and Ray were born. So what's funny is we'll remember something and are just always astounded at the different memories that people have of it. Or they may not have a memory at all of something Carl and I experienced. So that's always fun. There's always a little bit of a layering on any story that brings something new to light. Even if it's a new perspective from one of us who's over a decade older or younger.
Sometimes it's just it's time, it's perspective, it's a new story, a new thing. Well, listen, Eleanor, thank you very much. And
thank you.
I will include ways that people can get in touch or see stories. And I hope they enjoyed our kickoff story here on Emil and Amok's Takeout. Thank you, Eleanor.
Thanks, Emil.
Eleanor Clement Glass. Thank you, Eleanor. And now it's Julian Simeon. And Julian, you are my god brother.
I really like
so
that.
This does not count as nepotism. It does not count as nepotism.
No.
It's we share a godmother.
I've been calling you my cousin for all these years.
I know.
I like godbrother much better. It really speaks to our relationship.
Yeah, it is.
I think so.
It's God, because we got Godfather somewhere. He's somewhere, and let's see. I'm gonna put Eleanor. It's not that I don't want Eleanor with us, Eleanor, but I'm gonna banish you to the.
That's an incredible story, Eleanor.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
These are issues that come up, right?
Yeah.
These are issues that come up all the time, and so it's good that people actually had a way to to do it, to come up with it, to resolve
To
conflict.
address it and make light of it and
Yeah,
live with it.
yeah,
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
and totally relatable. Now, Julian, because so we've established this isn't nepotism. We're God relatives. We're all God relatives. We're all God's children, really. But
But some,
what
some more so.
some more so. Well, what the yeah, that's true. Well, what story when I asked you to be part of this Filipino American extravaganza for Thanksgiving, what did you come up with?
What we came up with. Well, I've been writing my family stories, right? And I realized that, like, my dad and uncle, they're the Monongs. My dad came in 1929. My uncle preceded him in 1921. That I really know nothing of their lives except some facts and looking at black and white pictures, and then maybe recalling stories that were told about the pictures, but it never had any importance to me.
Mm.
So I've been on this journey of uncovering, like, on this story is, it's kind of like, I think it's going to drop into a bigger piece for me,
Great.
but it's uncovering what might have been my dad's experience, given he was a merchant marine, given that he came in 29 when he was 17, given that he had a motorcycle
Right.
during the 30s.
Right.
I
Ah.
mean, what's that about, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, this is kind of like scratching the surface. And so I hadn't been writing about my dad, been writing more of his older brother, my uncle,
Yeah.
who you know as well.
Yeah.
But
So what's the name of the story? And then
I haven't named it.
okay.
It's funny, I
This
didn't name
is
it.
this is Uncle Eddie's story. I called your dad Uncle Eddie.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's good. Uncle
So
Eddie. Hey, it would fit. It would
yeah.
fit.
So
Okay.
all right. So without further ado, here is Julian Simeon, and Julian. Let me go off into. I'll go off into the. So you're in speaker.
I'm not a smart man. I finished only fourth, fifth grade. I was already big, huh? But that's the way it was. I learned to read, to write, and I can memorize. I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth. I know not where. I know the whole poem, huh? And another. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. King of Kings. Forget it. I'll never be a king. I have to work to eat for the family. I pick fruit, vegetables. I milk the carabao, the water buffalo. I help grow the rice so we can eat and sleep. But tomorrow, I wake again. It's hot. I work in the field, growing the fruit, the vegetables, feeding the carabao. I milk, I grow, I pick, we eat over and over again. But I want more. Your Uncle Vic, he writes me. He wants me to come to America. He knows I can read, I can write, I can work, and I can work hard. He sends me money. It's little, but I save. Dear Adong, my Filipino nickname, it is time for you to come to America. I am ready for you. I will send you a ticket. It's a long trip. I will meet you when you arrive. Ingat, take good care. Love to our mother, Manong Vic. But our brother, Segundo, the oldest, he accused me of stealing, of taking money. No, I told him, Manang Vic, he sends me money. But no, Segundo does not believe. He beat me, humiliated me in front of everyone. Everyone. Me not yet a man. He a full-grown man. He shamed me. I hate him. Want to kill him. Eddie left for America, vowing never to forgive, never to forget. My dad arrived in San Francisco in 1929. He was 17. He was preceded by my uncle, his Manong Vic, in 1921. Uncle had budding ties with labor and was able to give my dad, Eddie, leads to maritime work as a merchant marine. Joe, Terana, come on, let's go. Joe, my dad's best friend, his compadre Joe. He was like family. I grew up calling him Uncle Joe. We must hurry. Bring your bag, 2 pants, 2 shirts, shoes, hat, and your card. Don't forget your card. Manang Vic says, be at the dock. The merchant ship is sailing to Panama. They need 2 more hardworking men. He said, don't be late. And don't forget your card. Joe, do you have your card? Your ABS card? Able-bodied sailor. It's our ticket, Joe. No picking fruits for us. No hot, dusty fields. We're sailing south. We'll work hard. Storing bananas, loading coffee, loading, unloading, whatever they want. Work. Stamp my card. Oh, Eddie and the ports, huh? We'll go drinking. We'll go dancing. Those Latin girls, huh? Filipinito. Es muy bonito. Dad smiled when he told those stories. A glint in his eyes, a hint of younger days. Always a man of few words, I learned to read sounds, expressions, and silence. I have a pre-verbal memory of my dad and uncle standing at a drawer in the kitchen. Dad is holding something he had unrolled, and he was showing it to his brother, my uncle. Both are admiring what they see. Magandang babae yon. Wow, she's good looking. They gave you this at work? Nice calendar. Too bad you can't hang it. Lorraine, my mom, would never allow. Too bad, sayang. Then Dad rolled it up tight, put a rubber band around it, placed it in the third drawer in the kitchen. First chance, I went straight to the third drawer, opened it, and found the rolled up object of their admiration. It was a pinup girl in a red bathing suit. Pretty. The newly lithographed calendar oozed seduction, firing my olfactory senses. I wanted to scratch sniff. Hearing movement, I clumsily rolled up the calendar and shoved it back into the drawer. Caught in the act of Mom's stern voice, what have you got there? Busted. Mom's ire drew the attention of both my dad and my uncle. Their exchange of words, sounds, expressions. Punyemas, Eddie. Look what you're teaching your son. What? To appreciate a picture? Lorraine, it's a calendar. I don't care. Take it away. Uncle remained silent, but I could read both he and Dad smiling like, oh, good. He likes girls. I was a young teen sitting shotgun riding with my dad. A small group of girls were walking on Mission Street. I rolled down the window and called out, "Hey, baby!" Innocent expression of raging hormones. Dad chuckled. "So, you know about that now, huh?" End of conversation. As if, whew, birds and bee talk, done, complete, check. A few years later, in a solemn tone, Dad said to me, "Don't ever date white girls. They'll end up calling you monkey." There was lingering pain in his eyes, in his voice. I never followed up with any questions. No leads for him to say more.
Wow, Julian. I mean, I've been following your storytelling now for some time, and always growth, always more literary, always more, the moments you pick. And I know this is going to be a bigger story, huh? Probably.
Yeah, I feel that.
The longer arc. This is just a moment of a longer arc. I'll tell you, I always saw your dad as he fished, he rode motorcycles, he was a doer. He was active. My dad was slightly more sedentary, and that's what 30 pounds of weight would do. But I enjoyed that story, and there were some secrets there, some family secrets revealed, some God family story secrets revealed there.
Yeah, Godfather stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
my Uncle Eddie, I did not know about my Uncle Eddie. And the correspondence between him and Uncle Vic, who I knew, but I did not know Segundo. Did Segundo stay in the
He
Philippines?
stayed in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Like when I went back to the Philippines once, I've been to the Philippines once to go back to see my family's parents, or my my parents' families. And I always feel like they look at my mom, my dad, they're the lucky ones. They were able to come to America. And I see the ones who stayed, and they're like, this is our fate. We stayed. And it was like, it's sad because I think they're happy with their life, but I think they also think, God, how different life could have been if they too went to America. So, I mean, have you ever communicated with Segundo, Uncle Segundo?
Well, he's long passed. I remember meeting him. He came here, and I remember, because like all this was a secret that only was disclosed to me in my dad's later years. You're close to his end times.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm glad you bring the topic up because it's a kind of a universal topic. Am I
Yeah.
stepping on people's toes?
No,
I mean,
no.
even the process of me sharing this story, right?
Well, I think it's just great that there are these avenues that you have to choose. You go down, you see, and as you build your story, as your arc gets bigger, you see what you can talk about. I mean, sometimes just in conversation and just through meditation, which I like to use to bring up memory, bring up stories, you think, oh my God, that really, something happened that I haven't thought about in a long time. And now I'm thinking about it. And,
Some
so
serendipitous things have been happening just yesterday, right? I talk about these pictures, black and white pictures of that. I remember the stories of them, and we moved up here, and so there's a lot of stuff but I came across a picture of my dad's. I don't know if he was they were close to the same age. And I remember my dad looking at that picture and reminiscing that was the brother that was taken by the Japanese, and
Wow.
and you they took him. And it's an original black and white of him, like with a bar.
Yeah.
He's a weightlifter, and he hand writes. I didn't realize there was handwriting on the back of this card, this picture, and it's him, and he dates it, like 1932 or something like that. And it basically is encouraging my dad, because he already, in his writing, he knows that my dad's going through a hard time here in America. He's been ousted by the family. He's never going home, and he addresses that, his brother, like giving him encouragement. It was such a poetic, loving thing that I just pulled out, some.
That's a
letter.
treasure. That's a treasure.
It's a
That's
treasure.
and now you got to go and like let it sink in and really investigate what it is and let it. And you got stuff. And this is the thing. We discover how much stuff we have, and storytelling is an outlet. And we talk about it orally. Maybe you'll tell it at a family gathering tomorrow, but maybe you'll just write it down and say, look, I'm not going to talk this family gathering here. Read the book.
Or see the movie. No.
Or see the movie. Yeah, right. Anyway, thank you for the Uncle Eddie stories. Thanks, Julian.
This was awesome. Thank you, Emil.
And now I'll do. Oops. Oh, now I gotta. All right. So now I'm going to tell my story. And I got to set up the pin here, and I got to unpin you, remove your pin, and now it's just me on both speaker and people can put it on gallery, but if you put it on speaker, that's probably the best. This is a story that I wrote recently. I write about my mom and my dad, and there's pictures, and I wanted to talk about Lolas, and this is called Lola Mommy and Thanksgiving. I'm a Filipino boy in America in need of a Lola. L-O-L-A, Lola. Love, love, lovely Lola. Oh, but not like the King's Lola. More like Marcos's Lola, the Duterte Lola, the Filipino Lola, my Lola. I never really had one. It's only because of distance. The Philippines was just a place in the imagination. And that's how I imagined my Lola, the sepia-toned Lola, sepia. The black and white photo with the brownish tinge, a photograph of her is all we got. She was Lola Titang. Tea and Tang, my two favorite things. I love tea, I love tang. I liked Ovaltine too, but she was not Lola Ovaltine. Though she was the color of Ovaltine from the photograph, that sepia tone turned everything into a vintage light brown. In the photograph, Lola Titang wore a lace mantilla and glasses. She looked like my mom. So I saw my mom as both Lola and Mommy. Double duty. She had to make 2 batches of everything. Cookies, lumpia, everything. 2. The one she made, and the better batch, the one that only a Lola could make. That was kind of unfair, I thought. It was a small photograph, and whenever I thought of Granny, I thought of, naturally, Granny Goose, like the potato chips, which is different from Mother Goose, I guess. Granny Goose would be the mother of Mother Goose. The goose with the fairy tales. But what happened to the chips? And who had the little girls who would grow and have me for a son, and who would be there to love someone like me, someone like a granny, like a Lola? These are just the random thoughts of a Lola-less child. At 7, the age I prefer to dwell as I consider my earliest memories and my first thoughts as a Filipino-American born here. I was born here, but I was more like my parents than I thought. If I thought they were different from other parents, we had something in common. Our Lola-lessness. Other kids at school would have 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 4. There was something greater than grandma? Yes, there was. They're grandmas, moms. And I would see those kids dote on those old people who doted back. It was one big dote fest. And all I had was my mom. And she was busy enough to be Mom and Lola. Too busy. It was just unfair. And what about Lolo? Oh, well, he was in the picture too, wearing a barong Tagalog, the white shirt, the see-through shirt that made you look like a ghost, especially if you're wearing it with a white t-shirt. Lolo Bano for Urbano. No just the Bano. He too had white hair and glasses and looked like my Lola. It wasn't the same person, though, because they stood side by side like a matched pair. They were in the parlance of the current Latinx, Filipinx, LOLX, LOLX. LOL, laughing out loud? No, I'm just yearning for a sense of generational wholeness. Growing up, there were no phone calls, no trips back home. We didn't have the money. It was enough to get to America. I was born here. I was home already. All we had was a sepia-toned picture. All of us. My mom, my dad, me, a boy without his Lola. We would stare at that picture. Substitutes would have to do. I was Lola-less, but my mom was the motherless child, defenseless. But as they say, in defenselessness lies her safety. There's a phrase. It describes my mom. She was always the lamb until she wasn't. Then I'd see her fangs. She had a ferocity when I disobeyed her as a young child. She was a disciplinarian. But honestly, what sort of evil could I do as a young kid with this face? But my mother was tough. She had to be to survive World War II. Occupied Manila. She hid. She was Filipino and frank. And frank. Hiding in a dress shop, under a sewing machine, hiding from the Japanese who were occupying Manila and any young women they could find. My mom was a young woman when she came to America. An older Spanish woman who patronized the dress shop took a maternal interest in my mom and offered her passage to America. In exchange for dresses? I don't know. But my mom called her Lola Angelita. And she became my Lola too in America, though I only met her a few times. She had this thick pancake makeup and talked like a Spaniard. Well, she was, but it was that sound of colonial arrogance and privilege. I knew she was not my Lola. She was not my Lola. I think even my mom knew that. I remember seeing her only once. I didn't cry when she went back to Spain without my mother. But my mom had another surrogate. Another surrogate mother. You always needed a spare, apparently. And that's what made Thanksgiving so special. The first year I heard her say, "We are going to Mommy Pierce's." Mommy Pierce? When my mother and father were first married and lived in San Francisco, south of Market, they stayed in a flat next to the Pierce family. They were Mommy and Daddy Pierce, and they were like the parents of my parents in America. I figured they must have just been neighborly to this immigrant couple with the newborn kids, because when I met them, Mommy Pierce was like my grandmother. A big Irish woman who wore her apron like a royal robe with delicious grease stains. She would dote on me like a grandmother has never doted. "Oh, Emil," she called. Emil, she called me. Emil's my name. Emil, she called me. My Irish name? Daddy Pierce just nodded. He was tall with white hair and looked like a minister, a country vicar. And they had 4 kids. Joey, Pat, Jimmy. That's 3 strapping Irish lads who looked working class, rough, but with an altar boy sensibility. Decent, but at any minute ready to join the Crusades. And then there was Anne. Oh, Anne, the red-haired Grace Kelly, a princess. To me, she was like a movie star. All of them in their 20s. They were some of the few white people who ever talked to us as a family. We'd sit in their living room, and they would act like we really mattered. Even me. "So you're in the 2nd grade now," Jimmy would say to me. "Yeah, and I really like the Giants." Oh, the Giants, the baseball team. They knew Gaylord Perry, a good Irish pitcher for the Giants. Bless his heart. Small talk was just the warm-up for the feast. Mommy Pierce would outdo herself every Thanksgiving. The turkey, the mashed potatoes. Oh, the Irish potatoes and the sweet potatoes, the cranberries and the gravy. It was the American holiday meal. It did not elude us Filipinos in the room. We were Lola-less, but thank God Mommy Pierce came to the rescue. "Oh, Emil," she would say, "there's much more. Come on, eat." Oh, my ship had come in. My Lola had come in. There was so much food. My mom had said, if I were to excuse myself, I should say, "I need to go to Mrs. Murphy." That was a code name for the restroom. Murphy? Oh, no, Murphy. Mrs. Murphy. Murphy with the Filipino Irish accent. Mrs. Murphy. But I didn't have to elicit her help. We started eating at 1 p.m., and by 4 p.m., I was asleep in the living room, thinking turkey dreams, no pumpkin pie. I could hear someone say to me, no pumpkin pie? Next thing I knew, we had walked back home in a tryptophan haze. The Pierces were on 20th and San Carlos, a block up from Mission Street, and we were 3 blocks up on Guerrero. A Thanksgiving sleepwalk. And with that, I was back in our flat on Guerrero Street on the sofa, waking fully. The sound of frying lumpia, the Filipino egg roll was in the air. There was a smell of garlic and dried fish too. Oh, round 2! The Filipino Thanksgiving was about to start. It was a full holiday. So much to be thankful for. My Irish Lola had seen to that. And now my Lola mommy finished it up with lumpia. Thank you.
Nice.
And that was a story, gang.
That was awesome.
Mrs. Pierce and Mrs. Murphy. Mommy Pierce. She was my white grandma. And you know, when you grow up a grandmotherless child, you know, who's going to give you you got to make your own love sometimes, right? And that's why, and this is the truth. Julian's mom was my godmother. She was the best cook, and I would look at her as a kind of surrogate, and that explains our closeness. And she took godmothering seriously. So, I mean, you know how some people are godmothers and they like, okay, they're godmother for the moment because they want to be at the party when you're a kid. But 15, 20 years later, where are they? Where are those godmothers aren't around? But Julian's mom, she was a godmother. So godmothers were like the replacement Lolas. But then we were fortunate. We had these white Lolas, and then my mom was a Lola. So anyway, you had a Lola. Did you ever see your Lola, Julian?
Yeah, this is something we have in common. I didn't realize this. I didn't meet any of my grandparents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
it is a loss, I think, or void.
Yeah.
Void, and it was by distance.
Yeah, your mom and your dad is like only is a couple years younger than mine, with the same generation, and same thing. You know, they come here, their parents are there, they never see them. Now, Eleanor, I know you saw your grandma, right? You got a grandma.
I did on my father's side.
Ah.
But I'll tell you a little story about my Lola, my Filipino Lola, my mother's mother. My mother left the Philippines when she was just 18, and she never saw her mother again. She never was able to see her. Yeah. When we left my dad's assignment in Thailand, we went through the Philippines on the way back. And it was the first time my brother and sisters and I had been in the Philippines. So I was 14, and we stayed at my aunt's house. There, the little bedroom where I was staying goes right into the living room, and then you go down the hall to the bathroom. Well, I got up in the middle of the night, and I stumbled into the living room, and I felt this wash of warmth, love. When I looked over, in this rocking chair, there was a profile of a woman, and she turned to me, and I just felt this intense feeling. I didn't think anything of it. Went to the restroom, came back, she wasn't there. The next day, I was telling my mother and her sister about it, my auntie, and they said, where was she? Where was she? I said, oh, sitting in that rocking chair. She was sitting in that rocking chair? They said, what does she look like? I said, well, looked like she had a bun, and it was low in the back. And they just said, that was your grandmother. That was your Lola. She wanted to see her first grandchild. And that's when I started believing in spirits.
Yeah. So
Lola visited me in the Philippines.
it was a spirit.
It was a spirit. It was my Lola's spirit.
See, I believe in that too. Isn't that funny? And I believe in this whole idea of the coincidence of these stories coming together and the intent. You know, we create these intentions are things that are there, and you know they come together for a reason. So listen, I said this would last less than an hour, and we're at about 50. We're at 50 minutes. I appreciate both of you, and
Thank you.
I hope you come back again. We'll do more Emil Amok story time. Have a great Thanksgiving to all of you, and Julian, thank you, and tell more stories. I will send links to you all about how to share this with other people in your holiday weekend, and I will be playing this on EmilGuillermo.media on Facebook, also on the Emil Guillermo YouTube channel, and also at Emil Amok on Twitter. People can have access, and also on amok.com. So the story time is there. Thank you very much for participating. Eleanor, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy
Emil,
holidays.
thank you so much. It's great to see you.
Bye,
Eleanor.
Julian.
Thanks for the opportunity. This is
Yeah,
fantastic.
it was a lot.
Yeah,
It was a
some
lot
fun.
of fun. A lot of fun. And that's it, friends. You can see Eleanor and Julian. Go to my website at amok.com for more details. But thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving. We did this live on pre-Thanksgiving so that we can enjoy our meals. But hopefully you'll see this show on Thanksgiving. You say, oh, shall we go to the theater? Oh, before we go to the theater, let's check out Emil Amok Storytime with these Filipino stories. And then hopefully you'll say, oh, let's see it again and again on Friday and on Saturday, on Sunday. And so anyway, I'm Emil Guillermo, Emil at amok.com if you want to email us. Thank you very much again to Julian, to Eleanor. Thank you very much for watching. That is all. Until next time, as I'm finding, see my show Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Live on all those places. I always say at the end, Mahal Kita.